Hey folks, Matty231 here, another Mercedes video today, looking at the fuel filter, the diesel fuel filter on the OM642 ML 350, the W166 version from 2012 to 2017 or 2018, I think. So it's the V6 3-litre diesel. At the end of the day, this video applies to any OM642. The fuel filter, I believe, is in the same place on pretty much all of them. So if you've got a 2002 E320 CDI, this video will probably work. Let's jump straight into it. Before I do though, actually, if you haven't already, I've just visited Mercedes-Benz factory, Mercedes-Benz museum, and Mercedes AMG in a Falterbach in Germany. I just launched that video recently, so go and check that out. I flew literally to the other side of the world to go and see Mercedes in the flesh. So if you are a Mercedes fan, check that out. And also, we're also getting a new car this week, a Mercedes-Benz, it's the first time I'm saying it on the channel, E63 W211 with the M156 V8 6.2 litre engine. So we're doing a road trip down the South Island of New Zealand to pick that up. So come and join me. I'll put that video up soon, and you can see some of the sights, some of the South Island scenery. Also getting that thing back up here to Auckland, which will be hopefully a smooth trip. But with any old AMG, you never know what's going to pop up. We'll get into that video later, but let's get to the fuel filter. So you can obviously buy a genuine Mercedes-Benz fuel filter. Hengst is very commonly used as an OEM supplier for Mercedes, so you'll commonly find oil filters and stuff are actually made by Hengst, just with a Mercedes-Benz star on it. So there are different versions of the fuel filter. This version here is has one with a sensor attachment to it, and yeah, I do believe there's versions of this without this on it, so you're just going to make sure you buy the right one for your car. So again, you could use the Hengst website to search your car, and it will tell you what one you need specifically. So next thing we're going to do is remove this bracket here. What I like to do is I like to grab a little tool. Now, while I do this as a sort of I'd like to think I'm a professional DIY. I don't have a ton of fancy brand new tools. You can just use basic tools to get things done. But these are very fragile, team. I've actually broken this one myself. But yeah, I like to use a pick like this. Put it in the gap if you can. Actually, and I can tell a lie. This one, you put your fingers in and you press up on this piece with your finger, and you can get it over these lips, and it will come off. So you just get it enough to push it over those tabs, and you can sort of lift. So this just pops out on the sides here gently, and then it's still never easy, is it, to work? It always is bloody harder than you expect. And then just lift this up. I'm doing an oil change, so I have part of this already disassembled. I need to move those actually. That's for another project. So here's our engine. Nice and simple. Well, it's not simple, it's a bloody complicated mess of an engine, but our fuel filter is it's right in the middle here, okay? Now, the last time I replaced this bastard was 2 years ago. Jeez. You want to replace them really every 20 to 30,000 Ks, or 15,000 miles, I think it is roughly. So this one is overdue, and I don't like being overdue on Mercedes-Benz parts, Mercedes-Benz stuff, just because it can cause problems. So left it a bit long, but never mind. You know what, we're probably going to leave our vents in situ, I think, because we only need to really remove this pipe here that goes to the turbocharger, our air MAF sensors and intakes. So yeah, let's get on to sort of unclipping these bits here. So this is one of my favorite tools, team, just a little pick. So these little electric plugs have a little silver plastic tab that you can see. So what I like to do, the back of the little plug, and pull it. Just be careful though, you don't hook There you go. So it just sort of pops out nicely. You want to put your thing in behind it and pull it out. You'll actually see that one's slightly broken off. I don't know if that was me or someone else, but again, you want to be careful. You know, you could say this one's maybe a little bit sharp, so you just want to be careful how you do it. But you don't need a lot of force. Just get it in behind there, and yeah, it pops out. In, out. And then this pops off like that. What I am going to do is just put my oil cap back on now that I've drained the oil. And I better make sure I don't turn the bloody engine on without any oil in it. So while we're doing this job, I'm also going to replace the oil filter. But you don't need to see that. Cool, so that's that off. And then this part is very simple. You're just pulling this towards you. And then getting these undone here. Pull them back like that so they're loose. Same on this side. Pull them back so they're loose. What I would say is if you've got some compressed air or a vacuum, just give this a quick vac. I've had this open a few months ago, so I'm not going to worry about it, but just try and avoid any gunk getting in there. And just be careful because you don't want to break the plastic. Sometimes you've got to get those off camera. So team, once you've undone those bits and pieces, you just want to basically pull this assembly out. So you can just gently back it up off of here, and it will pull up. You've just got to be aware there's also a sensor at the back here from memory, so you just want to make sure you've got that pulled off as well when you get to it. So pull it back, pull it up, and let it sort of just relax up there. And then, yeah, there's that back piece there as well. That again we don't want to miss. It's the same little clip in it, and it's on the back side. I believe it's part of the PCV system from memory because I've replaced this before. There we go. I think it's actually separate to this, but it joins into it, so up like that. And then just gently wiggle it off the snout of the turbocharger. Up and off like that. And yeah, that there, so you can see the little orange part that plugs into this assembly, so just grab it and just make sure no oil drips. So. If I'm not mistaken, Tim, I replaced this seal here a while ago. So this orange seal. And because after a while, after a number of times taking off that piece, taking off that intake, this orange gasket can sort of deteriorate, and you could obviously get leaks in the system. So just be careful when you pull it off and just clean up around it, obviously. But one thing that was weird, and I believe it's because I probably didn't tighten it up last time, was making sure that you also undo this clamp here. So it should be tight, and it should be tight around the snout there. But as you can see, it wasn't on mine, which isn't a good thing. I don't usually miss things like that. But clearly I didn't do it up last time properly, so make sure you're just mindful of that. Cool. So what I'll do now is it's probably a bit messy to do it like this, but I'll just cover up that hole so there's nothing that can get into that turbo inlet. So now we've done that, team, we want to take off the little front cover here. So there's 1, 2, and I believe 3 down the bottom. Actually, no. This top piece is fine. It's the, I'm thinking of the little plastic sort of air box at the front there. That's what's got it. So yeah, these two here, it's just your standard sort of female torques. Probably E12 is more than generous, and you just want to gently undo those, pull them out. So team, we've undone those two bolts and removed this cover here. The base of the cover fits into a rubber grommet. You just want to be careful with these plastic hoses that you get them bent or snapped. So, you know, if you want to be really safe, you better just to remove the hose from up here, or you can just carefully pull this out of the way while not getting it hit. But you'll see you've got this little plastic nodule and it sits into a rubber grommet. What I do is spray it with like WD-40 or silicone spray and just very controllingly and carefully bend it backwards this way and then just sort of gently let it pull itself out. It can be hard. You just want to avoid just recklessly yanking it out though, because you'll snap that clean in half if you're not careful. Now we're making some good progress. We want to pull this inlet pipe off, this turbocharger high pressure charge pipe off. So you've got a torque screw here and you've got this sort of like soft aluminium bracket that you can actually bend. So you want to be careful you don't break it, but you want to pull that off. And we've also got a e-torques up the top here as well, which I'll access with a little extension. So up the top here, usually I use electric tools, but it's no harm using the old-fashioned way. Now don't be silly like me and lose your screw there. Thankfully it's not gone, obviously, it's just lying there. And then this here, all of these screws, when you do them back up, don't tighten them really hard. Just hand tighten good enough and a little bit, and another couple of degrees. You don't need to. Some people tighten the hell out of these bolts, and they don't need to be tightened really, really hard. So don't be one of those people that flipping makes everything impossible to take off again. Now keep track of your bolts in like a container, guys. Don't just leave them lying around here, unlike me. And then you've got this plastic bracket which this coolant hose hooks onto. And I think it's got a little, just grab your little pig again. I think it's got a little tab behind it from memory. Yep. So just pop it off to the side so it's unhooked. You can bring it down like that and take it off there. Cool. And then now I'm trying to think from memory to get this actual pipe here off. We do need to loosen this. I don't know what the hell it is. It's some sort of plastic, fantastic bloody. I don't even know what it is. Someone here who's watching might know what it is. You can tell us what it is in the comments. It's not like an intercooler because the intercooler is at the front, but it's, I don't know. Interesting. So there's a screw at the top. You got a torque screw there. You've got one from memory on the side here, yeah. And is there like one at the part of the assembly itself? I think it was just those two. Yeah, we'll try those for now and we'll see how we go. So I've undone those two screws. I think that's it by the looks of it. So you basically want to just carefully separate. You could put your thumb on the top here and use your pointer finger to leverage, just helping this pipe sort of lift off of this assembly, like that. And then you want to pull back towards you, using this as a grip, pull this off the snout of the turbocharger. There we go. And then up and out. And just remember, team, you've got a O-ring in here. To be honest, just pull it out and just give it a clean. Put a bit of Vaseline on it. Vaseline and reinsert it clean into here. This is obviously also already after the MAF sensor, so you could probably use silicone grease, but I just keep a bit of petroleum jelly on hand, and yeah, that keeps things safe. But yeah, well, whenever you're working on these things, just give them a quick clean and relube them again. Or just go and buy a new O-ring. They're cheap enough. From the dealer, you'll always find O-rings are cheap, whereas if you buy an O-ring online, you'll pay more money. The dealers are always pretty much the cheapest place for an O-ring. If you haven't done the O-rings before, like I say, the one on the turbocharger, this one, just do them. You've also got one that sits on the plastic housing down there. Maybe give that a clean as well. I know. Yeah. You do have to be careful though, like, you know, yeah, see, this one's fine. It's dirty. I'll give it a bit of a wipe with, give it a bit of a wipe. But also just be careful. Don't go and pull O-rings off if you don't have replacements or if you haven't inspected them, because you could also tear it and then you've got a stranded car until you get a new O-ring. So just be careful with that as well. Take my screws away, but I'll get a bit of Vaseline and I'll just sort of wipe it gently around here. If you guys want more in-depth videos, Tassos Machatos on YouTube. He's a Mercedes, like literally the best master technician Mercedes you'll ever find. And he's very particular. He's great if you want to get really into detail. Unfortunately, though, I don't think I've seen him do a diesel before. So if you have an AMG, obviously, he's got plenty of content on those, but I haven't seen him on the diesels, but all of the same principles apply. So team, what we're doing now is getting this taken out. Again, with the little electrical connector, just be careful because they can get brittle over time. So I just, in this case, use my pick just to give me a bit of leverage to lift this little plastic tab up with my finger on it, and then sticking the plastic in between the connector and the fuel pump, the fuel filter itself. It can give you just enough to get it moving so you can pull it off. Cool. So that's that out of the way. There we go. And now we want to take off the, I don't know what you call them. People call them one-time use clamps, but, and you are, from what I've heard, you are supposed to replace them when you use them, but I've got a tool here that lets me undo them and reuse them, and I've never had an issue with one after reusing it several times. So you can, if you don't have this tool, which most of you won't, it's so easy. Again, going back to the same bloody thing, a pick or a very small flathead screwdriver, and you can get under the front, because it's basically just hooks on. It hooks over the opposite side's lip. So you can unhook it by getting your pry tool, probably a screwdriver's better, to hook under there and clip it off and pull it off. Then you can go and replace it with a standard clip like we saw on the front here, just a standard screw-up Jubilee clip equivalent, if you don't want to mess around with these bastards. I sort of like keeping everything factory looking, so I'll try and reuse clips like that. Going the wrong way here. Here we go, easy as that. So just shimmy them back a little bit if you can. What I would say is it's probably actually not a bad idea to replace the actual fuel hoses as well at some point. Every time I've taken mine off, though, I've cleaned them and put rubber protector on them to give them that longevity. So if you look after them, they might be all right. And then we'll undo the 3 brackets that hold this thing in place. And yeah, we're pretty much ready to pull it out. So what I'll do is just grab a little rag team so you've got it to catch any fuel that spills. But and also make sure your keys are out of the car and away from the car, because you don't want the fuel pump priming. It wouldn't, but if you forgot and accidentally hopped in the car, it's going to start blowing fuel through the system. So just make sure your keys are out of the way. Cool. So we'll pull these screws out, team. you'll see I don't really have them done up heavily. And then we're just using our, so we've got it loose. Yep. So now we can just use this here to pull back. So what I like to do is sort of get it in there, just move it around a bit just to sort of break any sort of seal there is. I'm just going to pull those back a bit further. Ideally use some silicone spray, but I'm using WD-40 or CRC 556, which isn't really apparently the best thing to use on rubber, but just to get that back. And what I like to do at this time, let's actually pull this out as well, team, here. Don't lose the little locking key. Just to move this hose out of the way. What I like to do is have my next fuel filter ready. So just get that ready so that when you pull it out, you can plug the new one straight on. Actually, no, cancel that because there's a bracket that it goes in. It's not just a straight up connection. Yeah, I forgot. There's a an actual bracket we need to shift over. But you can see if you just use a little tool like this, you can also grab it by your hand, but it's quite hard. If you buy one of these, just these different sized tools, it just helps you get these things off easier. You can actually as well, as you can see here, twist the fuel filter away from the hoses, so it just helps you get them a bit looser. Cool, so that's one of them off. Just get these ready. Hopefully not too much fuel comes out, but yeah, bugger all. Just be careful though, because this will be full of fuel. Bloody spill it everywhere, aren't I? No, they're good. Nothing in them. Perfect. Sometimes, team, it's a good idea also to, while you're doing this, in the valley of the engine to see if there's any oil leaking. So you'll see here down the bottom here, your oil cooler. If it's leaking, good luck. It's a mongrel of a job. I don't know if I did video it. I've got a video on it. If you need to replace the oil cooler valley seal. So they're just like, I think there's two purple seals that over the time deteriorate, especially on the sort of slightly older OM642s. You've got to pull all this crap out. It's including the turbocharger. It's a mongrel of a job. Like, you know, it's fine. Like, it's not terrible, but it's a mongrel of a job. And you've also got to make sure, so this little black thing here is your swirl flat motor, which controls the intake length for the airflow. And it's quite brittle. And also, if you've got a lot of oil leaking out of here, the plastic down here can puddle up with oil. There's that motor there, and you can cook that system, and then your car's going to go into limp mode. Hence why I sort of said earlier on, if you're in there, replace this seal, just to give you as much sealing ability as you can from the PCV, which blows oil back into the intake system. But otherwise, that's out. I've got the new one ready to go. I've put the date on it. And we've just got this bracket we need to shift over, which I don't need a video doing. It's easy. Just get a hex bit and undo it and shift it over, and just make sure you line up the same positions, which if you look at it this way, you could just reference the two prongs here. This prong's on the outer edge of that harness connector there. Cool. Cool team, so you should have sorted out your filter now. So that's the position of the lips. Take your little caps off. Don't throw these away, keep these, well, if you want to do more DIY work, I like to always keep things like these on hand so I can reuse them if I ever take the filter out again and I'm doing another job. It just gives you extra little tools to use if you need to use them. So we'll chuck these back in. Slot it back down into place. Before we do anything, we'll put our pipes on. They should sort of slot straight on. Should be nice and easy. Cool, that's that on. And then we'll put our screws in that hold the unit back in place. So we've got one, now see, I'm just wrong here, team. We've got this little metal bracket here. That's better. We've got this bracket here. We've also got the ground for the harness connector, which goes at the back side of the engine, and put that under the fuel filter clip. That's not painted, so it grounds properly. And then the final screw, we'll chuck that on before we tighten everything up. And while we're there, we'll just quickly put our harness connector on, just while it's still slightly loose. And at the same time, I'll just move into position the clamps as well, because we want to make sure we don't forget to do the fuel clamps up. That could definitely be a health and safety risk. Normally, I'd say do your clips up before you go and put your electrical connector on, but I've just done it like this for now. And it's easy as that. So I've just reapplied the clamps. So what you do is when you're taking it off, this way goes on a certain part to pull it off, and then you flip it the other way around when you're putting it back on. If you've got them, you'll figure it out. It's not hard. Cool. So just line it up with the paint marks on the hoses again, team. And done. Easy. And the good thing about those clamps is you don't have to guess how tight the clamp should be. You just do it up and it's where it should be. Don't forget this. So we'll plug this back in. I don't know what it is, but it looks like it's some form of fuel line. So it holds it in place like that. And then, yeah, I'll do the rest of my screws up. I don't fully do it up with the electric gun because I don't want to over torque it. I'll just do it up so it's pretty much nearly flush and locked in. And then I'll just hand tighten it. But not tight, just hand tight's fine. Don't over tighten stuff. Cool. I think officially Mercedes says about 8 or 9 Newton meters. Yeah, so then what we do is a final check, just to make sure we've done that. We've clamped, we've put the connector on, we've got the ground on, we've done these, we've put those down. So we've got everything back in place and it's good to go. So now we're just on the flip side, team. We're in reverse order, reinstalling everything. Just crack on with that. And be careful, this just fell out of the hose on me. So make sure you don't lose it. I always find this bloody thing awkward to get back in. So what I do with this one is I normally get that lined up first. Yep. Actually, team, I apologize. Take this off. This goes on the snout of that turbo inlet. Otherwise, you could squash the O-ring. So put it on the end of this here, so it's flush there. And then when you guide this on, it's going to just nice and easily back straight over the top of it where it should be. That's better. So here we go, plunk, nice and easy. Back it up just a little bit so it lines up with the bolt hole. Clamp your bottom airbox in place. Then we'll get that little sucker here. It's usually just a little short one for this one here. Chuck him in place. Do him up. And then probably don't have it as tight as I've done it there, just slightly loose again, so it's movable. We'll put our screws back in for this front plastic unit here. So, yeah. So you got one down here, sorry about that, one down here where my hand is, one on the back side, and then we'll put this front one in where that little metal piece goes. It's this little female screw here, and then test tighten the rest of it. So Tim, we're putting the intake back in. Just want to correct myself earlier on. So this seal here, the seal goes on the intake assembly with the MAF sensors. I don't know why I didn't remember that. But yeah, as you see, we pulled it off and it came off with the, it came off onto the turbocharger. So just reinstall it. You want the dot poking through the top of the hole here. So you'll see it'll have a it has little grooves where everything goes. So you want to make sure it sits on those correctly when you reinstall it, and that all of the little grooves match up properly where they're supposed to be. Then what you can do, I use a little bit of brake cleaner just to clean up the mating surface of the turbo snout. And then I just go a little bit overkill as usual and use a lot of Vaseline to lube it up. And then you're ready to slot this back on, making sure your PCV is connected at the bottom of the assembly there. And just sort of, yeah, jiggle it into place like that. Jiggle it into place. Just make sure it doesn't pinch, like make sure the seal doesn't pinch, obviously on this, but also on the turbo, because that could obviously directly limit the amount of air that can get into the engine and also cause a leak. So what I do is sort of push down from the back so it lines it up as straight as possible, and then you can just sort of wiggle it. See, it's not catching there properly. I need to look at that. Get the other side down at least. There we go. It's better. Okay, well that one's sort of coming on easier. So I get these metal latches hooked over each side. That side's quite hard, it's hard to see. Lock it in. Make sure you don't forget to plug the sensor back in and lock it with the little silver tab. Don't forget your PCV. I don't know what it is, it might be a valve or something, but just don't forget to reconnect this as well. Back on this side here. What bloody way did it go? Went that way, click it in, lock it in. And finally, this side here, team. You just got to massage it on, but don't force it on. It shouldn't have to be forced on. It should just naturally go over the top. That was maybe a little bit too much Vaseline there. This one's a little bit of a bitch. I feel like it's pinching on the bottom far side. So you might just have to work at it for a little bit like I am to get it back on properly. This is why, team, I do this as DIY. As a hobby, I don't do it full time, because if I did it full time, it would drive me absolutely mental. Like, if anyone's a mechanic, like, honestly, they should be paid a lot more than what they probably get. Cool, there we go. Because it is not an easy job. Obviously, the better you are at it, you know, I've been doing it for maybe 5 or 6 years now on Mercedes. I'm still learning, but I've way to where I first was, but yeah, it's not an easy job. So yeah, well done to anyone who's a mechanic. You deserve to be paid well. So we'll put our intake hoses back in. Especially on these new cars, you know, where you've got, like this 642 is actually quite an advanced engine for its time. You know, these came out back in like 2003 or 4 maybe, I think, from memory. You know, 2003 or 4. Now before actually team we wrap up, I've still got to put that front cover on. But yeah, so this engine's quite advanced. But a lot of the new ones, like the M177, the M157 AMG, they've all got these plastic hoses everywhere. And this one has quite a few hoses, at least most of them are metal. But they're just so complicated, and they take a million things to remove just to do something simple. Even this car, you've still got to remove all the stuff to do the belt. Whereas on the old engines, you just move the tensioner and pull the belt off. So we're going to reinstall this. Before I do that though, I am wanting to replace a little idler pulley. So I'm just going to do that now, and we'll come back to this afterwards. So team, we've got the cover back on here. These have been pressed back into the front of the radiator. Just as an aside, I did unhook this connection here. It's part of the small plastic tubes. There's a little metal tab. You can just use your pick to lift it and pull it off, again very gently, and it might just give you a bit more freedom to get this piece back in here. But do be warned, that does have coolant in it, so just make sure you're ready to put your finger over it just while you're manoeuvring it in so you don't block anything. But if we just double check everything's plugged in, I've got my new pulley on, which is separate to this video, doesn't relate to anything. Everything's in, all done up. I've got no spare screws left in my box, so that's good. So I know there's nothing that I've forgotten to put back in. It's always bad when you have leftover screws, and I have that every now and then. Other than that, team, that's about it. This is why we have air filters, so we don't lose stuff inside the air filter. You can't see that, it's fine. Cool, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start the car up, and we're going to first, we're not going to start it straight away, team. I'll go through with you in a sec how we do this properly. I'm just going to get this all covered back up. I'll let you do that yourself as well. I just need to finish putting some more oil in before I start it up, so let's continue with starting. Right team, car's sacked on its ass. Don't probably lower it that much, it's a little bit excessive. But yeah, anyway. Generally you want to start the car before you sort of let it off the jacks, just because unless you've got a hoist like me. In saying that, it does lift itself up if it's got enough air in the reservoir when you open a door or get close to the thing with the smart key. This is my wife's car, so it's pretty filthy. But what we're going to do is, to start it up for the first time, we're not just going to bang it straight into gear, we're going to actually let it prime. So you put the key in, turn it to the on position. I don't know, team, if you can hear that noise. One of the noises, I believe, is the AdBlue system, but I think one of them is also the fuel pump. I sort of let it do its thing, then it's quiet like it is now. Turn it back off, key out, key back in, do it again. That sounds a lot more normal now. Usually you'll have that sort of woo, 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 woo noise. And we'll do it one more time. And basically then we're ready to start it up, okay? Keys off, keys back in, back to the on position. Turn your extra power supply off. Cool. And then we'll start it up, just making sure I've done everything properly, which I have. And it starts up like that. Easy. Not a problem. Perfect. So that's good. Because I've got brand new oil in my car, I'm just going to check it first. But yeah, it's already off the stands. But this job, you don't need a hoist or anything. You don't even need a hoist to change the oil on an ML. You can just pretty much fit underneath the front of it like I used to do back in the day. So sounds good. Sounds nice and healthy. Make sure you remove this on your car as well. Oh man, that's not good. While we were in Europe, this car sat outside at one of my wife's friends' places for a month. And this is where you have issues with water ingress. I didn't actually read the checklist until now. So you do not want this blocking your tubes, because if you get enough water flow, it can sometimes flow into the car or flow into some of the electronics that are stored in different areas here. So make sure when you're servicing your car or doing your oil filter like we are now, just to check things like that as well. Sweet team, so that's the ML 350 with a new fuel filter. I've also done an oil change on it and replaced one of the pulleys. So I won't talk about that right now anyway. But yeah, so it's an easy job to do, just takes a bit of time and patience. Key takeaways are make sure you don't have to buy a genuine fuel filter, just buy a Hengst OEM aftermarket OEM filter. Yeah, just keep track of all your screws, don't misplace them, don't over torque bolts. There's no bolts in this job really, you need to torque tightly. You can just do it hand tight plus a couple of degrees. And yeah, just take your time. But if you enjoyed that video, check out my other videos on the ML 350 because that seems to be the most popular car, even though it's not my car. And if you'd like to see other content or have questions, just let me know. I'm happy to help. I've got the Mercedes star diagnostic system so I can look up specific procedures. And there's a bird that's going to attack me shortly, so I better wrap this up and get out of here. Cheers.